Good morning, everyone. Good morning. This is Pastor Donnie here this morning. Wanted to give a quick update. This morning we are worshiping at the Southfield Westin Hotel in Southfield, Michigan. We start at 11 a.m. this morning, so everyone is getting set up. I just wanted to come live and join and just share a few thoughts this morning in regards to some of the reflections that I had in devotion this week. I'm not going to spend a lot of time today, maybe a quick 15 minutes, but I just want to drop a few thoughts and a few nuggets of inspiration that came from this particular text. We're thankful this morning for God's favor, God's mercy. We're praying for so many people who are sick and shut in today. We're praying. We just got some news that there has been some death and some extended family and friends. So we're praying for those families, particularly the Vincent family, the loss of a father, uncle. So we are thankful for just God's mercy and love. And I remember the old saints, they would also say, there's no secret what God can do. What he's done for others, he can do the same for you. So very quickly, I'm just going to drop a few things. One of the texts that I was reflecting on this morning, the text is from 1 John chapter 4, verse 18 and 19. 1 John chapter 4, and for many of you, this may be a familiar text. It's a text that I pulled because of Valentine's Day, and we say Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. This text in 1 John chapter 4, 18 and 19 says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love cast out fear. For fear has to do with punishment, and whoever fears has not been perfected with love, perfected in love. We love," verse 19, "because he first loved us." If I had to give a theme, I would tag this text, the love that will never die, the love that will never die. You know, I'm not a big movie buff when it comes to horror flicks. I'm not a big horror flick guy. I like action and some comedy, but there have been historically in my generation some momentous horror flicks. There was Friday the 13th with Jason, and Nightmare on Elm Street with Freddy Krueger. There was Halloween with the notorious Michael Myers. There was a Texas Chainsaw Massacre with a guy by the name of Leatherface, if you remember that. But these particular individuals, personify fear. They personify fear. And then there's the granddaddy of all, Exorcist, the Exorcist movie. They personify fear. In more contemporary movies that many of the younger generation will know, there is The Purge, which personifies the fear of everyone. And then there's the clown, Pennywise, again, personifying fear. What's interesting is that in these situations, the motivation in the movie is to create fear. To create fear in such a way that we are moved by fear, that we have our emotions are triggered by the actions. What's interesting when you think about the fear as an antithesis to courage, I thought about Officer Eugene Goodman, the Capitol police officer who notoriously and courageously saved and maybe prevented further destruction and even death at the Capitol on January 6th. Officer Eugene Goodman. He personified what it looked like, and I would say to be mature in love, to operate in such a way that he manifested a mature love in such a way that it pushed out fear. We see him saving Senator, one of the senators as he's running before him. He's saving the senator because he was moved, watch this, by mature love and not moved by fear. We learn from him that you cannot walk by faith and fear in the same moment. Many of our fears are rooted in the imaginary deficiency of our mind. Many of our fears are rooted in the imaginary deficiency of our mind. I want to say that it's amazing when you consider this reflection that there are two types of fear tactics that has to do with punishment. There are two types of fear tactics. There are many types of fear tactics, but I want to highlight two types of fear tactics that I think many of us experience today that the enemy uses that has to do with torment and punishment. Mitt Romney, that's what it was. Mitt Romney, thank you. Mitt Romney, thank you, Christina. It was Mitt Romney. He diverted away from the rioters. But two types of fear tactics. I want you to hear this now. Christina, hear this now. Two types of fear. The first tactic that the enemy uses, that the opposition, that oftentimes is used to influence us, that has to do with punishment in this text. The first tactic is to cause you to question your confidence. The first tactic is designed to cause you to question your confidence. This tactic is designed to get you to doubt that you have what it takes to do what you have to do. Fear wants you to question the source of your confidence. Fear wants you to believe that there is no reason to be confident. Fear begins, watch this, where your confidence is destroyed. Question: what do you have, or what has you that makes you so confident? If your source of confidence is in things like money, like prestige, like youth, like your connections, popularity, relationships, experience, beauty, or even your past performance, then these are the exact same things that fear or the enemy relies on to rob you of your confidence. He can always have, and here's how he does it, he can always have more of those things. He can always have more. He can always outwit you. He can always out-experience you. He can always outspin you. He can always outperform you. He can always have someone that's younger than you. He can always have more connections to you. He can always get someone who's more popular than you. He can rob you of your confidence because he can always have more of a finite, watch this, source. But perfect love, mature, perfect, or another word for perfection is mature. Mature love produces, watch this, a strength, a confidence, a faith that is rooted in a heart that has received already from God. And the more you receive, watch this, it pushes out more fear. The more perfect or mature the love, the less possible the fear. And the more fear that is present, the less the mature the love. No believer's love, no believer's love has ever been so perfect as entirely to banish fear. But we can experience a love, a divine love, a transformative love that diminishes fear completely. Here's another tactic, the second fear tactic that is often utilized. Watch this, it's to cause you to think that you are responsible for your situation and that your situation will never change. That's something that's something that you did, that's something that you said, that's something that you failed at, that some mistake, some deficiency is the reason that you are in the condition that you are in, and it won't change. Proverbs 29:25 says this: the fear of a man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord shall be safe. Fear causes you to doubt your future because you messed up over here, and it causes you to want to believe that there is no way that God will change it over there. Mature love reminds you that God has not taken his hand off your circumstance. Yes, there are some things, some pain, some problems that should never have had to endure if we had simply obeyed God. There's some things that you should never had to go through if you had never made that right turn, made that left turn, picked up the call, if you had never answered that email. There's some things that you would have prevented you in life if you have simply obeyed the leading of God. But I'm here to declare to you today, God has not taken his hand off you. And not only has God not taken his hand off you, but mature love also reminds us that God has already gone before you. Joshua chapter 1 verse 9 says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, be not discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. God's presence has already surveyed your circumstance. And there is good news for all of us that perfection, watch this, is not a prerequisite for God's presence. Perfection is not a prerequisite for God's presence. Mature love does not make perfection a prerequisite for presence. Finally, not only will mature love remind you that God has not taken his hands off you, and not only will it remind you that God has gone before you, but lastly, mature love reminds you that God will always fight for you. Listen, the more we are matured by the love of God, the more we are perfected by the love of God, the less fear is present in our life, and the more we realize that our battle is not ours, but the battle is the Lord's. Romans 8:31 says, what then shall we say to all these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? The battle is not yours, it's the Lord's. I don't care what the battle looks like. I don't care how many walls have been constructed against you. I don't care how many narratives, how many lies. I don't care how bad or how dark the nights get. God will fight your battles. Deuteronomy 24 says, for the Lord your God is the one who goes with you to fight for you against your enemies for victory. Deuteronomy 3:22 declares, be not afraid. The Lord your God himself will fight for you. Beloved, this is the promise that you and I have today. This is the promise that as we mature, that as we are perfected in love, as we begin to be transformed by the magnificent, wonderful, generous love of God, there is a reflection of that, not only as we worship the Lord our God, but as we begin to love our neighbor as ourselves. There is a maturity, there is a perfection that pushes out fear. Fear is often, what I've learned, fear is often taught. As a father, I have begun to understand that much of the fears that people have in life, they have been conditioned to fear. They have been taught. There's a socialization of fear. But perfect love teshuvas you back. In other words, it returns you back to that original state of reflection, of experiencing, of engaging, of manifesting, of radiating or glorifying or mirroring the love of God in such a way that it casts out all fear. It's an amazing thing that fear is designed and engineered to torment, to punish, to oppress, to keep you locked up. Systems use fear to keep people locked up in their mind. Nations use fear to oppress people and control resources. And individuals use fear oftentimes, even in relationships, to manipulate and control the other person. But watch this. Those of us who allow the loving grace and magnificent presence of God to transform our heart, there is a process of maturity that begins to push out every preconditioned aspect of fear, that it changes your life forever. We love because he first loved us. God bless you. I'm going to run in here to service. We love you guys. We'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Same time. We'll continue doing the 10:30s, even as we are transitioning back to physical worship. We thank everyone who was here today, who's setting up. We thank those who are on their way and coming. We love all of you. We are still, just to let you know, we are still utilizing the Farmington Civic Theater. I want to make sure it's clear. But today we are trying something different. We're trying the hotel as an alternative, not as a permanent transition, but as a temporary fix during these unpredictable times and these times of variability. We found that this location may be an alternative for us. It may give people a sense of more comfort to be able to feel comfortable coming in here. We still have access. I personally love the theater. I love the smell of the popcorn. but for those who are here today. So we'll get another announcement. We'll send out more information about our next in-person worship. I know it's right now scheduled to be every second of the week, every second Sunday of the month. I believe we have another one the second Sunday in March, but we shall see. We'll get that word out. Love you guys. Have a wonderful week. God bless you. Amen.